everyone, it's Autumn. Today I wanted to do a video where I talk about the Chanel Sublimage Le Teint foundation. This foundation has actually been around for quite a long time, but I feel like it's starting to pick up a little bit and people are starting to talk about it. And I can't help but wonder if people are starting to talk about it because I find there's a lot of similarities to the Jones Road What the Foundation. Nobody else has really made that comparison, but I'm wondering if that's kind of the thought behind it. So you all already know what I think of the Jones Road What the Foundation. I'm not a fan, but actually I love wearing this every day. Not every day, but I love wearing this on those days where I don't want to make it look like I've put on a ton of foundation or I've put a ton of effort into my appearance. So, which is weird to say, but I like it for, or really any tinted moisturizer, really for when I go to Army and I just want a little bit of something, but I don't want to look like I have a mask on. And I also work in the fitness industry and I don't want to go into the gym with a mask on either. So I've been really loving it for that. So the way I'm going to structure this video is I am going to show you how I achieved today's look, how I like to apply it to kind of get like this, like I have makeup on, but like I don't want people to look at my face and be like, she has makeup on. So it's kind of like a barely there, just kind of defining your features, making you look polished kind of makeup look. So I'm gonna have that first, and I will try to remember to put timestamps if you don't wanna watch me apply the makeup. And then after that, I will go into the full-on review if you just kind of wanna know my full opinions, who it's for, and all of that good stuff. So we're gonna jump in right now to me applying it. So I wanna start off by saying that this does make your skin look beautiful. I have prepped my skin, but I am gonna go ahead and start putting this on while I talk. It does make your skin look beautiful, but I can see how it's not for everyone. It's very sheer. It doesn't give much coverage. It gives like a tiny little veil over the skin. I think this is what Bobbi Brown was trying to do and trying to recreate when she made her foundation, what's called like What the Foundation. You can see there's like not much coverage at all. It just kind of lets the skin shine through. And it feels, which I'm pretty sure it is, like a moisturizer with a slight tint in it. And so I've been loving it in the cold weather because my skin is so dry. But because it is so sheer, it looks ridiculous when you then put full coverage products on it. So I like to use other sheer products and then just add coverage only where I need it. So you see I have a couple spots on my face, so we'll cover those. But this really isn't something that you would want to keep adding to try to build coverage, just because I'll put a little bit more on, but just because since it is like a moisturizer with just a little bit of pigment in it, it will start to cling to things like, once the moisturizer absorbs, it will start to cling to like peach fuzz and things like that on your face. And I don't think that's what we want. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on and then we'll take a look at my skin up close and you can kind of see just with this what it has done. I don't like to use this when I've used a ton of like moisturizer or oil already, because again, this is kind of like a moisturizer in and of itself, but I do my regular skincare first. So I'll do like a light moisturizer or just do my sunscreen and I'll let it sit on my face while I go brush my teeth and have my coffee and have my breakfast or do whatever in the morning, and I come back to it about a half hour later after everything else is absorbed into my skin. So I'm gonna zoom you in and show you up close what it looks like on my skin. And you can see like not much coverage. It just looks nice on the skin. It just makes the skin look healthy. I'll show you the side of my face that's not covered in blemishes. So it just makes the face look healthy. And I really like that. I think it's great for every day if you are trying to not look overdone. I think this is like the perfect sort of product for that, or perfect for aging skin that maybe needs a little bit of evening out and necessarily doesn't need like some full coverage or anything like that, but just needs to look a little bit brightened and healthy. So I've got that on and I'm gonna go in with this, and this is from Skin Food. It's like a, what do they call it? Like the salmon concealer. This is relatively inexpensive, but the formula is moisturizing and also kind of sheer. And I'm just gonna put that here just to get rid of a little bit of blueness. So I don't go ham on my eyes when I use this product and try to get rid of all the blueness because I don't want it to look unnatural. So most people naturally have a little bit of discoloration around their eyes, and that's perfectly okay. So I go in with a little bit of that, and then I go in with a little bit of concealer. The concealer I like to use, which is crazy, is this super cheap one. This is from The Same, and so it's funny, I'm using the super expensive sort of foundation product and then going in with this like dirt cheap concealer. It's less than $5. So I'm gonna go in and just kind of cover the spots a little bit. And when I put other products on, I tend to notice that like I have to go back in with the concealer, but I like to start just kind of with the base anyway. So I'm just gonna cover exactly where I need it. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but then I just take the same finger that I applied the foundation with and then just kind of tap it in. So you can see there is still like some redness around, but that's okay. This is like the perfect product to use for kind of like that no makeup look, which you can build makeup on top of it and make it look a little bit more, which I have done. And the skin looks lovely, but I just find that if you're gonna do that, you might as well use a full coverage product because this gets a little bit finicky when you try to add a lot of stuff on top of it, I've noticed. That's probably too much. Okay, and then I am gonna go in with a little bit of what's left on my fingers from cleaning that up and tap it on the inner eye here. Okay, so you can still see my redness and my freckles and some blemishes and things like that, and that's perfectly fine. Again, I think this product is meant just to make you look slightly healthier and your skin to look almost like you just had a facial. It's not meant to make you look flawless. All right, so I'm gonna go in with a little bit of bronzer on my face, which I don't want to do a lot because again, I don't want to make it look obvious. Right now, I'm getting ready to do a video comparing like the Charlotte Tilbury to like everything else on the market now that's trying to dupe it. And I want to actually use one that I haven't used. So this may not be a good idea, but I did want to try this from Flower Beauty, and this is called their Low Light. I'm gonna swatch a little bit here on my hand. So we're gonna go in with this, but if you're curious, I usually use the Beauty Pie one or even this Chanel, and you can use the Chanel one actually under or over, or these NARS ones like here, and I just use a light layer of them regularly, but I am testing and trying to get a feel for these. So I'm gonna test this on my face. And again, not a ton. I kind of like to look like I'm not wearing any makeup when I use this product on my face. I just want to look like I naturally look good. Actually, I like the color of this one and the way it blends. And I did pick up a little bit of the concealer obviously on this, so I will go back in and fix it. But as long as the makeup is even over the skin, it doesn't really matter. I just don't want to look blotchy like I actually have makeup on. But I'm not sure if this is blending out as well as I want it to, and maybe that's my fault. I kind of let it sit for a second before I started blending, so maybe I should work in like little areas. You can kind of see there. And I am going to go in with a little bit more concealer, but I'm going to be a little bit more detailed, and instead of going in with the doe foot, I am just going to get a little bit on the tip of this eyeliner brush and put it up here because I'm done up here. I am going to be doing a little bit more on my cheek in the way of blush, so I'm not going to touch this until after I get the blush on. So now I am going to jump into blush, and I like to use a more sheer formula that tends to stain a little bit, because again, since we're using all these cream products on the face, if I use something that moves around a lot, and since I am not using a lot of powder, it ends up kind of looking like a mess on my face. All right, so I'm trying to figure out which Say blush to go with, and I think I'm gonna go with this one, and it's in the shade Rosy. So these Say blushes, you kind of have to be careful because they do have a stain. So I'm gonna just put it on my finger and start to tap it in instead of putting it directly on the skin and then trying to blend. And I am gonna build it up. I really like a lot of blush with these sorts of fresh face looks. And it's kind of tricky because some of the redness I already have is down here. So I don't want to use a blush color that's wildly different from the redness I already have. So using something that's closer to your natural redness, if you're not going to get rid of your redness, actually makes your look more cohesive. It would be really weird if I had kind of this rosy color down here and then went in with a bright coral up here. Again, I'm just going to take this same brush that I used to blend out the bronzer around the edges of the blush. And then I still do have a little bit of concealer left on here, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So I do put a little bit on here, just trying to let it die down a little bit. And then if there's any blush left on my finger that I just blended with, I hope that it kind of blends in with it, which it does a little bit. So you can still see that there are spots on the side of my face, but they're just not as bright, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I don't need to look flawless. I just want to look like slightly better. All right, so highlighter. You don't really need highlighter with this makeup just because the skin is pretty glowy, but I do like to go in with a little bit, and I think I want to use, do I want to use the Say or the Lisa Eldridge? I'm going to go in with the Lisa Eldridge just because the tone of it. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to put just a little bit here on the back of my hand and then work it into my finger here and just tap kind of right in that area where the light would hit. I don't take it too low. And then I do take it into the brow bone a little bit. All right, so let's go ahead and do the eyebrows. I've been kind of having a difficult time with my eyebrows lately. I don't know what the deal is, so I'm not gonna like put too much effort into them, but I am just gonna try to shape them to where they look somewhat similar to one another. So this is the Beauty Pie brow pencil that I like to use if I just want a quick brow. It's a little bit of a waxy texture, so it helps you to move the brows where you want to move them to. And it also fills in a little bit, you know, with color. All right, so let's kind of like wipe down the eyes and take a look. And I want this makeup to look natural and fresh. So sometimes I don't even put anything on the eyelids. I just powder them. So they don't kind of oil up throughout the day, and then add some mascara. But I am gonna put a little bit of a shadow on. And this is gonna deepen my eyes quite a bit, but I do wanna go in with this Burberry shade in Almond. And I'm gonna try to go lightly and kind of use my fingers to smudge and bring it out just to kind of add some definition to my eyes. And then on this smudger brush, I'm gonna run a little bit of it under the eyes as well. Mostly on the outer half, and I'm gonna smudge. Okay, and then I'm gonna take the shade Shell from Burberry, just to put a little bit of life back in the lid, make it look oily even though it's not, so that my skin texture kind of goes with my eyes, so the eyes don't just look matte and then everything else kind of has a glow to it. But by doing this, this will prevent my mascara from smudging off on my oily eyelid. So I'm literally putting makeup on that already looks pretty similar to my eyes just to avoid my mascara from smudging. Okay, so then the eyeliner that I like to use is I actually like to tight line with this tiny little Revlon eyeliner. You can use anything, but I just prefer this one because sometimes I also like to do a wing. So I just go into the lash line and just color it into the base of my lashes. So you can see from this eye to this eye, there's not a ton of difference, but there is some definition over here. And I'm gonna go in with a mascara that does not give like too much lash action, but still separates and looks nice. So I like to use the Say Beauty one when I'm doing this. It has a brush that separates really well, and the formula is, I don't want to say like liquidy, but it's a thinner formula that's not goopy. And I just go in and apply just like one coat to my lashes. Okay, so now the lashes are done. I want to add a little bit of something to my lips to make sure they're moisturized. And what I've been doing, I should have put this on before I started doing my makeup. I've just been using a tiny bit of the Elizabeth Arden 8-Hour Cream. And I like to let it set in. I'm gonna turn off the camera for a minute, go wash my hands, and then we'll be back to finish my lips. All right, so now I'm gonna put on a little bit of Benetint just to my lips. Fun fact, Benetint was actually invented for strippers to make their their nipples more pink, because they found that they got better tips when their nipples were pink. So I let that dry, and it's a lot. So then I go in with my favorite lip liner that helps to subdue the color. I don't know if I have it in here or where I have it. Here it is. It's the NYX Nude Beige. I go in with this. I feel like every single video I've talked about this $5 lip liner. But I go in and add it around the edges. And then I actually add a little bit more. It can be any lip balm. I'm just gonna use the 8-Hour Cream because I have it here. Again, just a little tiny bit. And then on a dry day, kind of like today, I would just leave my makeup here. If I am going to be wearing it for a super long time, or I'm going to be moving around a lot, possibly sweating, like who knows, I will add a little bit of powder strategically around the face. So I'm going to hop in, and I'll go ahead and just use the Chanel powder since this is a Chanel foundation. I'm not really choosy about which powder I use. This is the Poudre Universal Libre Natural Finish Loose Powder. There we go. And I'm gonna get this brush here, and I'm gonna really work this in to the brush, and then just put it under the eyes, right here, in the smile lines, and then onto the chin. Like really nowhere else on my face am I gonna powder. Maybe a little bit right here on the temple. I sometimes notice that it gets a little bit sweaty looking there, but I like to leave that. And then this is the completed look. I've been wearing this look quite a bit recently just because I'm playing around with this foundation and I want to know what works with it. And so I'm going to take a minute and go fix my hair, and then I'm going to come back and talk more about the foundation, who I think it's for, who I think it is not for. Is it worth the money? Products that I like to use with it, products that I like to avoid, and how different types of products wear on it. So I'll be right back. So I've done my hair, and this is kind of just what my everyday kind of look would look like using this. I do have clips, and if they pertain at any point in the video, I will just kind of stick them in. I did go with my friend Amy to, oh my gosh, the Fiesta Wear dish company. We went to West Virginia, and was it West Virginia or Pennsylvania? It was West Virginia. Gosh. But anyway, we went there and we were looking at stuff, and I wore it that day, and I was trying to film check-ins and things like that kind of discreetly. I was like sitting in her car, and she's like taking pictures of the river and everything. But
okay, so this is check-in 1. I actually think my makeup looks pretty good. I mean, around the nose, I've been like kind of trying not to itch my face. We've been looking at pottery and it was like all dirty. But I actually think my makeup and my skin look really good. So I'll probably check back in after we eat again, but I have already had brunch. But I'm really liking it. My skin still looks like skin and it's not melting off my face. Okay, so I'm inside the TJ Maxx. And I'm getting ready to try on some pants in the fitting room. But I just wanted to do a makeup check-in because I've had this on my face now for like close to 12 hours. So everything looks great except for my nose because I've like rubbed and stuff. I mean, I love it. I hate to say that I really like a foundation that is that expensive, but at least I know I'm gonna get some use out of it. Obviously my skin does look a little bit glowy, but I like that.
Anyway, so I did try to film a couple of check-ins then where I was wearing it, and I have tried to wear this more with a full face, which on that day I feel like I wore more makeup, and I've also worn this just alone by itself. So I think this is better suited for when you want your skin to look just slightly elevated, almost like you just had a facial. So this is essentially just a moisturizer with a little bit of pigment in it, and they also say they put their diamond powder in it to kind of give like that sort of natural glow. So right now I feel like I'm in my era where I want to look like rich lady who just had a facial. And this is like the perfect sort of foundation for it. It is $135. It comes with a brush, which I don't like. I prefer to just use this with my fingers and rub it in like a foundation. I found that the brush, I had to work a lot longer. And it was streaky for quite some time until I finally broke down and used, I think, a buffing brush or my fingers to just finish it off. So it's a nice touch that they added the brush, but I don't think it's necessary. The one thing is though, it does come with a spatula and I have no idea where I put it. So I've just kind of been pulling from the lid, but you should probably use the spatula or maybe the end of a brush to kind of pull it out instead of dipping your fingers in. There are 20 shades in this line, which I find to be very surprising considering how sheer it is. They say that you can get up to a medium coverage with this, but I don't suggest doing that. Like I mentioned before when I was applying it, if you try to build this product up, if you have like any peach fuzz on your face, once the moisturizing properties have sunk into your skin, you're going to be left with that little amount of pigment that's in it since you built it up, kind of like clinging to your peach fuzz, and you'll see it like around your hairline. And I found the same thing happened with the Jones Road with the foundation. And I keep like bringing that one up just because I find that the coverage is similar. The main difference is though, I find this to actually be more hydrating in the sense of like actual hydration. This has squalane and all of that good stuff in it, where Jones Road kind of focuses more on oils, and theirs smells more like, I don't know, what are they called? Like aromatherapy oils? I don't know. They smell more like essential oils. That's what I was looking for. And I wasn't crazy about that. And also I've pointed out in the past, the Jones Road one separates in the container and then you have to mix it before it's used and it's a mess. This one doesn't. Probably because though it is not like an all natural kind of product. It looks very similar in the container though, but this is less messy, less oily, and it actually, I find it to be hydrating. It does feel like using skincare. So again, I've already mentioned it before when I was applying the makeup, but if you skipped that portion, I like to use this after I've done my skincare and I've let my skincare that I've put on soak into my face. So if I am using an SPF, I try to use an SPF that works more like an essence or a moisturizer. One that I typically like to use when I'm applying a more moisturizing sort of foundation is this one from Skin Aqua. because it's a UV essence. It really soaks into the skin. So I'll just kind of let it sit there and then, you know, like brush my teeth, do whatever, come back, and then I will apply this over it. On the days where I try to use it with like more makeup, I kind of find that I am defeating the purpose of this product, because I kind of want my skin just to look naturally healthy, and then this doesn't have the coverage that I want, and I'm not going to build it up. So then if I have to use a ton of concealer on my face to the point to where I'm like covering everything, I should have just used a more full coverage foundation. I think it takes away, if you're adding a ton more of like full coverage products, I think it takes away from the glow that this product gives. So if you're looking for something that adds a little bit of glow but with more coverage, I would probably say go for the Shiseido foundation that I mentioned in my favorites, because that one gives a lot of glow plus full coverage. Or if you want something with some glow that's full coverage, just take whatever full coverage foundation you have and you already like and add something to it, like these Auric drops. Well, they're not drops. What does she call it? The Radiant Luminizer. Just maybe add something like that to it to kind of give it a little bit of luminescence. So you notice that I like to use a lot of cream products with it just because I think it kind of blends. And then if I have to, I can go over with powder. I have powdered my entire face, like cheeks and all. And eventually, since this is a more moisturizing product, it kind of absorbs the powder and it still looks glowy, but you have to wait about an hour for it to kind of look glowy. If you go without adding any powder at all, what ends up happening is throughout the day, since it is so moisturizing, it starts to look like you just freshly applied skincare. So if you don't mind that more like oily, moisturized look, because it does get quite shiny, it looks like you've just put skincare on. But what can happen if you have on, like, say, a lot of like full coverage sorts of like powder blushes, it can kind of make those look a little not so good. What I have noticed though, if I put on powder blush, it works better with sheer formulas of powder blush. If I go in with a full coverage, it doesn't look quite right. And once it absorbs, like it looks a little bit blotchy. So I just find that using like stains or like a cream product tends to work a lot better with this. So I guess the bottom line, do I think it's worth the money? It's $135. I don't have anything like it that's less expensive. Like, I do have tinted moisturizers that are less expensive, but they just don't look as beautiful on the skin. And like, I feel like my skin, because I mean, I have blemishes and stuff, but my skin still looks nice, and it doesn't look overdone. So I would say it is worth it. You don't use a ton of product. Like, I literally just put a little bit on my face and rubbed it in. Even if I were to use this every single day, it would probably take me about 6 months to use it up for the amount that I use, because again, I don't build it up like they say you can. And I don't use the brush, which absorbs some of the product. I just use my fingers and I move it around until my skin absorbs it. But really, that's all I have to say about it. I really like it. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to keep it. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys yet, but I do plan on doing a review of one foundation a week. If you guys saw my video where I did my whole like beauty, well, it wasn't all beauty, it was just like my makeup inventory video. I have a ton of foundations. And so my goal is to review one foundation a week until I've gone through and I've reviewed them. And then that's also going to help me kind of compare them and declutter and downsize. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you watched my video where I did my inventory and you want to know about any of those foundations, it doesn't matter if it's a new one or an old one. I will add it to the list and I will do a full review on it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
I don't wanna wait for you.